Welcome to A Trekzone Conversation. Matt Miller with you at Trekzone HQ. Well, it is a fantastic time to be alive right now if you're a sci-fi fan, because the middle of December saw the end of The Mandalorian's second season. The middle of January is going to see the end of Discovery's third season. And the new year brought us a fantastic Doctor Who special. Resident Whovian Rob McKnight is going to join me on the other side of this to chat all things Who's New Year special.
Beaming around the world for over 500 episodes. Now on Facebook Watch, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. This is A Trekzone Conversation.
And he's back with me for the first time this year. It's our first Trekzone Conversation in the regular slot. Rob McKnight, thanks so much for your time this morning, my friend.
I always love being here.
Mate, it is absolutely incredible that we're in a position for sci-fi fanatics to have the Mandalorian wrapping up in the middle of last month, Star Trek Discovery wrapping up middle of January, and here we are talking about Doctor Who's New Year's special. It's been 10 months since we've since we've seen Jodie Whittaker in the role of the Doctor. What are your first thoughts?
We waited 10 months for that.
Oh.
I'm really concerned. I am a Doctor Who fanatic, as you well and truly know.
Mm-hmm.
I got bored. I was looking at the clock like, when is this over? I thought it was boring. Jack certainly didn't have enough to do. The Doctor, the whole idea of Storm Cage. River Song came and left as she wanted, and the Doctor's stuck there for decades. So how does that work? How did the Jadoon get into the TARDIS? There's just so many questions that beggars belief. And it was just, I don't know, I'm so sorry. This story I just found appalling, boring, play by the numbers. There were some nice moments in the characterizations, although they telegraphed so early that we'd be losing some characters. I think one of the best characters on Doctor Who in years, in Bradley Walsh's character, is going, and that's a real shame. But I actually thought for the whole part, this was such a letdown, and if this is the best Chibnall can do with a 10-month rest, he's got to move on.
I found it. I think what I found most
Have I shocked you with that?
Yeah, you have, because I enjoyed it. But this is the brilliant thing with getting other people on to talk about it and spitball the ideas and drill into why. Because I have heard a lot of commentary online, absolutely panning it, and some others praising it. We enjoyed it in the household here, but I think a lot of it came down to, for me, looking at it. Suddenly, if you ignore that 10-month break, and you go from the end of the last season to this special straight away, suddenly you've got these one-on-one moments with the Doctor. And you could probably, as you said, it was being telegraphed who was leaving pretty much from the beginning.
Yeah.
With Ryan getting some one-on-one time with the Doctor. That's the first time that's ever happened. Captain Jack thought he'd have a lot...
Sorry, but also the lack of empathy. The Doctor, it's been 10 months for them, but the Doctor was in a cell for decades, and they're like, yeah, but you were gone for 10 months. Who gives a crap? Amy had to wait 4 years, or 12 years, and then another year when she found the Doctor. The writing just seemed lazy. And sorry, I know you'll continue with your point in a moment, but this was the thing that got me. I'm not a Chibnall hater. I've enjoyed quite a lot of episodes, and in actual fact, I just rewatched his 2 series recently, and I actually found a lot of the episodes better on a second viewing. But there just seems to be a form over function here, in that he has done some great things. I think the way they've changed the shooting, the incidental music, I think there's so many pluses to what he's done. I still think the Joe Doctor was far more compelling than Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, although I did like Jodie better in this special. But I just thought the whole story was flat. But sorry, I did interrupt.
No, that's all right. I think, yeah, just the whole thing, it just... You actually hit the nail on the head, and sort of where I was going with that, in form over function, and it sort of was, let's just move the plot forward and get out of this position, this impossible position that I created at the end of the last episode, get us into the next adventure, bring back the Daleks, bring back Jack, because they're good for ratings. I don't know, we just kind of keep finding a way to kill off the Dalek race and bring them back. I think that's the brilliant thing about traveling through time and space. But it's got to come to a point, you know, where.
But how is it? Why did she need to bring the secondary Daleks back, the pure Daleks, when couldn't she have used that same technique of getting them all into the second TARDIS and folding it in on itself? Couldn't she have done that with the Daleks that were on Earth? You know, like, that seems like a bit of a plot hole to me. And I've got to say, I never knew Mr. Big from Sex and the City was such a bad actor. I found him over the top and ridiculous in the first time he appeared, and he got no better in this one. You know, he lacked any actual depth to the character, and he played it, Chris North played it so over the top. It's like that old thing back in the classic series when people went, I'm appearing on a kid's show, so I'm going to go big, and I am going to be president, you know, and it's just like, oh my God, you know, like, this was woeful. I can't believe they actually brought him back outside of the idea that, oh, we've got Chris North.
Mm. And in contrast, I reckon John Barrowman nailed Jack in being a little less over the top. I found him brilliant in the role. But the fact that only Jack, the Doctor, couldn't rescue herself from the prison. She just resigned herself to being there forever. And Jack managed to get it done. Now, I understand that you've got to move the plot forward, but to have a complete jailbreak in 20 seconds after 20 years seemed a bit like, oh crap, I didn't actually know we'd be continuing this story after I put her in this impossible. You find it all the time with cliffhanger endings where they just try and resolve it, and they're just stuck with it. They're
Moffat
stuck with
was
this
huge
plot
on
element.
that. Moffat would set things up and then go, I forgot to get back to that. You know, like, he left so many strands untouched. But I come back to it. Every week, River Song went, I feel like going for a stroll. I'll pop out of the storm cage. You know, the Doctor has lived thousands, billions, whatever it is these days of years, and can't do what River Song, her protege, could do. I just find that weird.
Yeah. I'm it's and what do you do? What is
and I don't
Chibnall
mean to be
do
such a
next?
negative Nancy. Sorry, I'm so sorry to do this to you. And I know that I'm being a negative Nancy, but I was really looking forward to this. I woke up on New Year's Day in Australia and went, oh, the Doctor Who special's on, you know, and went looking for it, realising that I had to wait another day in Australia. And I was so excited for this. So I'm not a hater. I'm really not a hater. I was just really disappointed. And, you know, like, I just think, you know, we've had gaps in between seasons. Chibnall needs to pull his finger out or, you know, be the executive producer, look after the overall arch and let other people write it. He's a great writer, but he needs to actually have the time. He can't seem to write fast, is my take. Doctor Who requires you to put in a lot of hours and write fast, and I don't think Chibnall can do that. So what he has to do, he played with the idea of a writer's room. I actually think that's what he should do. I think he should work with writers, have a writer's room, and farm out the stories and work on them as a group, and that way he would be able to get more product out of a higher quality. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Can you find a positive in this special at all, Rob? anything at all.
Yeah, well, I always love seeing a traditional TARDIS, so that was fun. Captain Jack was a standout, although I found it weird that we didn't get a proper goodbye with Jack. It was almost like they went. It was almost like, oh, we finished shooting with him. We didn't do a goodbye. I will do an audio call. We'll get him in for some ADR. You know, like, that was just weird to me, the way they said goodbye to him. I thought the farewells were done really nicely. And I thought it was believable, Graham especially, making his decision, even though he wanted to continue, but the decision to stay with Ryan felt very real. In fact, it wouldn't have felt real if Graham had continued, because with Ryan leaving, Graham's all about family, and that was the decision he had to make. And that's where Chibnall comes into his own. He does those moments very, very well. If anything, I would say Captain Jack felt underutilized to me, and I would have loved to have seen him continue on. But look, we'll soon have a different TARDIS makeup, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I do find it difficult to find some positives. I did like the new Dalek design. I actually thought that was rather cool. But and I did like the fact that when the Dalek first came out and there was a shot where one guy was laughing at them because I thought this is an absolute real moment in 2020 or 2021. People would look at a Dalek if it had never been seen before and laugh and go, I'm meant to be scared of that. It's not until it actually attacks you or shoots you that you would suddenly become scared of this thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm wondering whether taking away from 3 companions back to 1 is going to really... Do you reckon they're sort of trying to course correct here and bring it back to the original diet of Doctor Who with a Doctor and a companion? I just think 3 was never worked. I don't think they were given the screen time to work. So now we're back to the dynamic duo, although there is a special guest star coming in the next season that we were teased about. So I'm wondering whether he's going to be a companion or whether it is going to be a dynamic duo again.
Well, it certainly sounds like he might be a companion, but it'll be interesting to see. 2 companions will certainly be easier to do than 1. We had Rose and Mickey. You know, we had Rory and Amy, and that did work as a dynamic. We probably had a few too many, although I would say that the one thing I did think worked well was the A and B storylines in this one, where you had Jack in Osaka looking at where the Daleks were being bred, and you had the other team going in their direction. So it did play off well when you had enough content for an A-B storyline, but otherwise it can be difficult trying to make sure everyone gets their moments. But I think it will be better having fewer companions in the TARDIS.
What about a revival of Torchwood? I got strong vibes that they were trying to get a bit of a backdoor pilot going in this special.
I think that's fans wanting and hoping, but I don't think it is a thing. I think that wouldn't that go down to Russell T Davies? He created that. He's done it in America. He's pretty much had every chance to make that show work. I don't think there would be much appetite for it within the BBC to come back. Maybe I'm wrong here. I just thought that was a nice little nod. I don't think it was... Sometimes people overanalyze this stuff. I just think that would have been a nice nod to let people know she's still alive, she's all right. I don't think it was anything beyond that.
Well, we've got Graham and Ryan. They could join Torchwood, talking about overanalyzing things.
Well, they are looking for adventures while trying to ride a bike. So they are looking for things to do. But once again, if they're going to go overseas looking for all these little problems going on, why don't they stay in the TARDIS? Because then they can come back to their own point in time, you know, and still have all these adventures. See, this is the thing. If Ryan's motive for leaving the TARDIS was to be in his home and lifestyle, and yet the first thing he's doing is saying, oh, there's something happening in another country, let's go, Grandad. You know, like the through line just isn't sticking.
Yeah. Well, Doctor Who, the New Year's special. We're out of time, Rob.
I'm sorry to be a whinger. I don't want to be that Doctor Who fan. I really don't. And I've turned into it. Maybe I'm getting old, Matt.
Well, one thing that I want to clarify here is there's a difference between this fandom that can't accept anything new and anything that anybody does. You see it in Star Trek all the time. It's proliferating into Doctor Who now. Or maybe it's always been there with Star Wars and I just haven't seen it. But, you know, anything new and we have to have diversity, and because that's the way that it should be, you know, is a problem. So you've got those people. Then you've got us that analyse things and critique things because that's what we want to do, and that's why we have podcasts and our own shows. And then you've got the people that sit down and enjoy it. And it's funny I'm sort of sitting in that medium there as well. I enjoyed the New Year's special. I think the biggest thing with it, and it's funny because of the way that I feel about current Star Trek, is probably the way that you're feeling about Doctor Who. it has potential and it's just not being grasped, and great moments are just destroyed by these crazy throwaway lines almost. And like you're saying there with Ryan and Graham, and I want to go and be with my mates, but let's go investigate this crazy thing happening in another country. Maybe coronavirus is going to come and he's going to have to focus on his mates, and I don't know, maybe that was the future Ryan and that's the past Ryan. I don't know.
Maybe he got back and spent 5 minutes with them and went, this is what I left the doctor for? Let's go find some adventure.
Who knows? Anything is possible. But Rob, when Doctor Who comes back, we're going to bring you back on. You're our resident Whovian, and we'll get your opinion on the next episodes.
Sure, and I will be going in with a clean slate and looking forward to being enticed and enthralled by the new adventures with Jodie.
I tell you what, a great episode for us will be, just very quickly. If I get Chris Chibnall on the show, will you come and help me co-host?
Oh, absolutely.
You can ask him directly what the hell is going on.
I'll give him some advice. I'm sure that's what he wants from an Aussie. Chris,
exactly.
This is how you need to structure your team when writing Doctor Who, okay?
I love it, Rob. Well, we can catch you Monday to Thursday on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show, and that is back very soon, as I understand it.
Back February 1 at the new time of 9 p.m. So we will be moving to a new time slot of 9 p.m. And look out for my new streaming service, Live Plus, which is launching late 2021.
Very exciting, Rob. Thanks very much for being here. We'll catch you again real soon.
Thanks, mate.